got donuts in the back for the crew.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay.
Go. Hey guys, welcome to Wednesday night. I know usually we are all together, whether that's the teens or the kids or the adults getting together and just getting to learn more about the Word and meet together. But obviously we can't do that now. So you've got Marshall and I.
So how excited are you?
So there's that. This is something that we started last week, but something we're really excited about for the next weeks to come. So we, in our ministry experience, along with y'all, have never had a chance or an opportunity to have classes like this,
Right?
in this capacity.
Yes.
Where we're creating content to give y'all later as we're all sitting down on Wednesday night and going through this. But so here's what we wanted to do for Wednesday nights over these next couple of weeks as we're still traversing and figuring out all this social distancing and church from home and all that fun stuff. So we know that we're all worshiping differently and that we're all going to be coming into this Wednesday night time differently. But we wanted to give you guys some access to what we are doing. So we're going to be going through a series called Unscripted.
Yes. That's right.
And it's just that. Marshall and I have some stuff that's on our hearts that we want to share with y'all, but we want to try and be as unscripted as possible. So we want to see where this conversation leads, and we want to cover some really cool topics that we're excited about that has to do with what we're all kind of going through and dealing with now in this different and historic time, and kind of work through that together. So I don't know. What do you
So
think?
yeah, this is totally. As the name implies, this is totally unscripted. We're figuring this out as we go along. This is our first attempt at this. Hopefully, this is going to get better as we go along. Not this is going to be awful.
I was assuming that it's going to be.
We want to improve. And we're totally doing this like conversation. Like if we're sitting here in our worship center right now, and like if you were sitting here, this is what we would be doing, kind of leading a class or a Bible study together. And so that's at least on the front end of this, that's what we're trying to do right now. So we may stumble through some words, we may forget our train of thought and stumble even explaining that. And we're just going to go with it anyway. We're just going to pretend like, hey, this is live. We're with you right now. We're having this class together right now, and I hope it's going to be a blessing for you guys. I hope we talk about some things that either meet you where you're at right now, or maybe some things that you can share with some other folks.
Yeah.
And just as Brandon says, some things that are on our hearts that we want to kind of get across to you. So one of the things that, as we were talking about, like kind of getting the ball rolling with this, just this unprecedented time that we're in right now. I've never had to. I've been a part of churches that maybe close their doors for a particular Sunday because of ice or snow or something. But as far as like, we cannot come to the building, we cannot meet together, and even going beyond just church, like you can't go to school, you can't go to work, you have to become isolated. There's so many different things about that are just weird and new and not very comfortable.
Yeah. Super foreign.
Yeah, and I think we're all just kind of struggling through trying to figure it out, and I think that change to our lifestyle generates a whole new set of, I don't know, struggles, and maybe the struggles themselves aren't new, but just the way that they're evidencing themselves are new. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not that we haven't had these struggles before. It's just that this is so new and different. It's hard for us to really wrap our minds around what is happening and how to deal with some of those struggles because we're dealing with them in a different way.
Right. So one of the things that I was thinking about, just as we start kind of thinking about just the newness of this and the not really knowing what the future looks like and how much longer we're going to have to be kind of changing our way of doing things for a while. I mean, to me, it really boils down to it's a real struggle of faith, because if you think about faith itself, one of the key elements of faith is you can't see whatever it is. I mean, that's what Paul says. Like, faith is the substance, it's the evidence of what you can't see. So we have this hope, we have this belief, God's in control. There's a direction and purpose. But man, right now, like, struggling to see it. So that's the ultimate. I think right now one of the biggest challenges just overarching challenge is just faith in general. Like, what is God's purpose in this whole thing? What is God's purpose for me in this whole thing? And not really being able to fully explain what that is.
I think that's a big deal, especially with Christians. It's just, well, okay, just have faith, and that's what God requires of us. I mean, from the beginning of the world, He's not there. You can't find His fingerprints. It's just like we have to have faith in what God has done. And I don't think I'm the only one that, in this particular time, struggling with not seeing what the end result is going to be, whatever that is. There's a different aspect of faith that, there's the normal faith that we talk about every Sunday, and we got to have faith in Jesus, we got to have faith in God. But this particular kind of faith is, I see God doing stuff that, like, I'm not okay with, or God allowing stuff that I just am confused about. Yeah. And having faith and saying, do I still believe that God is good, and am I putting that into action with the way that I think, with the way that I'm approaching Him in prayer, and the way that you and I are talking to each other? Right. And that's just, that is different, and it has not been where we're at.
Right. So, I was talking about this with you earlier. I remember the first time that I ever went rappelling. If you don't know what rappelling is, you strap a harness around yourself and run a rope through it, and you go over the side of a mountain. And that's a really brief summation of what rappelling is.
Going over the side of a mountain.
Yes, safely, supposedly. But the first time I went rappelling, I went with a bunch of my college friends who had just learned to rappel. It wasn't like I went with a bunch of professionals to a professional climbing place or anything like that. We were on Sugarloaf Mountain outside of Heber Springs, Arkansas, and we're standing on this bluff and look over the side of the bluff, and it's about 70 or 80 feet down, just this flat face of rock and a rope going over the side of it that I'm attached to. And it's like, okay, here's what you need to do. And the whole thing about rappelling is, at some point you just you got to like let your feet just kind of go over the edge. You kind of rock back on your heels and sit back and lean back, and it takes a lot of faith. And it's scary, especially when you do it the first time, because
faith in what exactly?
Yeah, faith that they tied the rope correctly, faith that the ring that the rope is going through is going to, hold on to you. There's just a whole bunch of different things. Factors. And I think the hardest part for me was because I hadn't done it before. This is something totally new. Even though I have watched a couple of my buddies do this first before I got strapped into this thing, it was still new for me. Yeah. And I hadn't gone over the edge yet. I hadn't taken that step yet. And at some point, when you're standing there, you just got to take that baby step over the side. You just got to, okay, here we go. And I don't know what the end result is going to be. I can assume what the end result is going to be, that I'm going to be safe and I'm going to just kind of walk my way down this thing. And even once I went over the edge, even once you start going down a little bit, you've been rappelling before, once you start going a little bit, you're like, oh, okay. I can handle this now.
One foot in front of the other.
Yeah, and you might even kind of, jump out a little bit and stuff like that if you get a little bit brave. But man, that initial going over the side is difficult. For me, the biggest difficulty in it was I'm not completely convinced how this is going to turn out. And I think that feeling is what I'm challenged by with just how we're having to live our lives right now with all the distancing and isolation and restaurants closing and all that kind of stuff. Is I get it. I want to be a part of it. I don't want to, generate more problems. But at the same time, I can't see the end, and I can't see what the end results is going to be. And I don't know. It's just it's fearful taking that step. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah. Just as you're saying that, there's this one activity that I did with the teens, inspired by a video that you showed me a while back, is trust fall.
Oh yeah.
And so, we've all done that. It's kind of like the corporate, like, hey, we're gonna go and do some team building stuff, and jump off, and we're gonna catch you and all that. But one of the videos that you showed me, and I did it with the teens, is okay. Well, it's easy to fall when like the person is tapping you on the back and saying like, okay, fall, like I'm here. Yeah. Like, okay, well, like you're physically present and you're gonna be there. And then, they tell you to scoot back a couple of feet, and it's like, okay, here's the real faith and stuff is like, are you going to fall knowing that this person's going to catch you? And then the cool part, and it's from the video, what we do with the teens, was, okay, so that I'm behind you, and you know that I'm going to catch you, but now what I want you to do is to fall forward.
Even though I'm behind.
Even though, yeah. So like, I got you. And it's like, I've caught you twice before, right? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, well, I'll catch you the third time. So are you going to fall forward with the same? And that's like where we are right now. I feel like it's...
By the way, he didn't have them actually fall forward on their faces. But anyway, or
Yeah.
did you? Maybe this is confession time on this
Well,
video?
I don't want to disclose any. I don't want to disclose any details. Okay,
Yes.
so I don't want to get fired. Yeah, but that's just what it feels like. We're falling, and we're in these new spaces that we don't know exactly where we are, and we're depending on God, who has got us to this point, who has been faithful to this point all throughout His Word and all throughout our lives. But now it's like the fall is a long ways. And that's the end too of like, I mean, at least you could see where the end of the rope was and where the ground was. And I knew where the teen was going to fall.
Yeah.
They didn't. But now it's like, man, you're just going.
Right.
And that's different. That's different.
Yeah, and I think that's the challenge of true faith is not even necessarily in the can I say the most fearful or fear producing kind of times where my life is being threatened or something, but just in the unknown, the not completely understanding how to deal with the circumstances that I'm currently in, and not knowing, first of all, what the end result is going to be, second of all, when the end result is going to be. And that really, and God saying, I'm not even going to tell you, you know? I'm not going to tell you what the end result is going to be, and I'm definitely not going to tell you when the end result is going to be. That's frustrating to me. I don't mind going through the scary stuff when I, going rappelling. I knew I had this many feet down, and then I was going to be at the bottom. I could see it, and there was still that apprehension and stuff. But a lot of challenges, true challenges, I think, to our faith, and I think the way that Satan attacks our faith is not like we see sometimes, people having a gun to the head and, you're going to stay faithful to Christ or not. Those kind of fear-inducing kind of things. But just whatever pressure, whatever seemingly overwhelming thing or just unusual thing that I'm dealing with right now and not knowing how to get through it, much less how long I'm going to have to get through it, may be one of the biggest challenges to faith.
If that isn't the picture-perfect analogy for what so many Old Testament and New Testament, but Old Testament in particular, talking about prophets, talking about people that God called, it's that. So yeah, we haven't seen anything on this scale as far as pandemics go in our lifetime. Like this kind of situation is not foreign to God at all. It's not strange to God at all. And it's something that His people have been dealing with for a long, long time of here's what the world is, and it doesn't seem like there could be any end in sight, and yet where are your allegiances going to lie? Where is your fear, real fear, going to be? Where is your, are we going to have like this reverence in who Jesus is and what Christ has done for us? Or are we going to give in to the normal fears of what this world tells us that we need to be fearful for, I guess.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. And I think the other challenge, I was thinking when you were just saying that, the other challenge to that is for those of us who want to be fixers. I see the problem, and I want to address it and deal with it and fix it. And when there's no quick fix, now I'm frustrated. Like, tell me what the solution is.
Disappointed every husband that's watching this right now.
Yes. But all of us in general, I think, we want to be able to either know the solution is being put together for us, or we start, panicking is not the right word, but kind of getting in a hurry, like, I want to fix this. That's where I'm at. I'm like, man, let's hurry up and find a cure, and let's hurry up and find something to address this pandemic and this situation that we're in. And sometimes, I think, going back to what you're talking about with some of the Bible characters, sometimes God's challenge was, man, sit in it for a while. Like, deal with it. It's this situation you're in is not going to get any better anytime soon. So how much are you still going to rely on me and be connected with me and pray to me and trust me through this while I just let you sit in the situation that you're in? That's completely frustrating. I want to go ahead and fix it and be done with it.
Yeah. And there's something weirdly beautiful about that too. Of that's where I am. God, if we could get on that. This has been a deal for a little bit now. Oh yeah, okay, like I got you.
Lesson learned. All right.
Wow,
Let's be done.
Whew, let's get past that. But the beautiful part in that too is that maybe this is just me, but it's really easy to what's the word? Just get really day to day with your faith and nothing really new. And it's not that
Kind of stagnant.
Stagnant, yeah. And it's not that God is saying that this is a good thing, but it's God saying, okay, what is your response going to be in all of this? And as believers in Christ, if our response is love and faith and admiration in a God that's in control of all of this, like this, if anything, what this has done for me is bolstered my faith to know, like, okay, Brandon, are you really practicing what you're preaching every Sunday and Wednesday? Do you really believe those things?
Yeah. Going back to the repelling story that I told earlier, once I went down the side of the mountain one time, now I'm a professional and I can teach other people how to do it.
That's right.
But we went, several times and we would take people with us sometimes who had never been before. And I can remember probably at least a couple of times. I remember one for sure, but I could probably think, if I thought long enough and hard enough about it, a couple of times where somebody was on the edge and they're like, the next thing is like, okay, somebody's down there at the bottom, they got to hold the rope, they'll keep you from falling. We're up here, we got the rope tied to the tree, you're good, just lean over and go. And in that moment, they were like, no. Or even to go over the edge and be like, pull me back up. I'm not doing this, pull me back up. It only happened a couple of times, but it did happen. And I think there's part of me sometimes like, to your point, I'm done, I'm out, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
God, just fix it and let's be done. And I'm ready to do something different. And I wonder how much maybe some of you that are watching this are struggling, not just with I think sometimes we talk about struggling with our faith, we limit that to just struggling with whether or not we believe in God.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it's necessarily a struggle with belief in God as much as just trust in God. And those two things are different. And just knowing that He is going to bring me through whatever it is that I'm going through, and waiting for Him to do it. Now, hear me say, I think there's action required on our part. We need to live out our faith. It's not that we just sit on our couch and twiddle our thumbs and go, okay, God, fix it. I think there's some of that too. But at the same time, we need to trust that God does truly care about us, does truly have a plan for our lives, and does want to do something for us. Maybe just not in the same time frame or in the same method that we want it to happen.
And that hurts me because I want it to be done now, and I want it to be done on my time, schedule, and what I believe is good. Yeah, that's not true.
Yeah. So I was telling Brandon when we were talking a little bit about this before we started filming. I think we both thought of lots of different Bible characters that went through some of the same struggles as far as just not knowing what the end result is going to be and struggling with trust. And the one that I kind of want to share with you to kind of wrap this up for this Wednesday is the Apostle Paul. And we look at Paul as kind of one of the, as far as Christianity goes, he's like, all-star. He's like, dream team kind of Christian. Seemingly did nothing wrong, although he would tell you he had all sorts of flaws. And preached to thousands, baptized people. I mean, he's just one of those upper echelon kind of Christians. Yeah, an icon, very good word. And he went to a city called Corinth, and later on he's writing a letter back to those people in the book of 1 Corinthians, and you're welcome to look this up if you want to. In 1 Corinthians chapter 2, he reminds them of what it was like when he first came to that town. Now, Corinth itself, really big town, lots of people. There wasn't a Christian influence there yet, as far as we know, when he got there. And he was all by himself. All his friends were off somewhere else, and he was completely alone and in a way kind of isolated. In the middle of all these thousands of people that live in this town, he's kind of isolated on his own. So I want to share with you real quick what he was feeling. It says in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, beginning of verse 1, he says, "When I came to you, brothers, I did not come with eloquence or superior wisdom as I proclaimed to you the testimony about God. For I resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. I came to you in weakness and fear and with much trembling. My message and my preaching were not with wise and persuasive words, but with the demonstration of the Spirit's power, so that your faith might not rest on men's wisdom, but on God's power. One of the key parts of that to me that kind of sticks out to me is Paul going, man, I was physically shaking when I came to this town because I was so scared. Now, he's already, by the time he got there, he's worked miracles. He's preached to thousands of people. He's stood up and defended his faith in all sorts of different arenas. And yet he comes to this town and he says, man, when I showed up, I was like quaking. I was shaking with fear. And I don't know that it was a fear for his life as much as kind of stuff we've been talking about. What am I going to do in this town? I don't know anybody. I don't know where I'm supposed to go. I don't know why it is that God led me here in the first place. I don't know who it is I'm supposed to give this message to. I'm completely clueless. I'm standing on the edge of the cliff, and God's saying, okay, lean over, let's go. And I don't know what the end result is going to be. I think that's where Paul was. It's a challenge to my faith. And Paul says, man, I was so scared. Here's the only thing that I had to deal with it was believing in the story of Jesus. I believed in Jesus, and I believed that story was true, and that was going to carry me through.
That's crazy.
And just that kind of faith. I mean, that's what he's challenging us to have. I don't have to have all the scriptures memorized. I don't have to be able to recite these eloquent prayers. Not that those things are bad, but I need to hold on to my belief that the story is true and then take action because of it. Paul, quaking with fear, I guess just walked up to somebody and said, hey, let me tell you about Jesus. And just taking these baby steps and basically, in essence, going over the edge of the cliff and just going with it. And that's who I want to be.
Yes. Oh man, I pray.
That's who I'm trying to become. But that's what I see with Paul in that kind of situation.
Isn't that? I mean, he just says it so matter of fact. Because Paul, I mean, he's got everything taken away from him in a new place with no friends, no family, trying to do a job that he doesn't know how to do. He's been successful with other things in the past, but he's completely unknown world. And he says, the one thing that I have, the one thing that gets me through is my faith and hope in Jesus Christ and the resurrection from the dead. Yeah. And if that speaks to me, because, I mean, what are we putting our faith in every single day here? Well, it's my job. Oh, okay. What about the pandemic that's happening right now? Okay, like how tightly are we going to hold on to these things? How long can we really hold them? Can we put all of our trust in those things? Well, I sure hope not, because if something happens, that's gone. That foundation is no longer there. Right. If it's finances, yeah, good luck. Depending on that, we can store and stow away all we want. But at some point, we have to put our faith in something else. Yeah. If it's our family, if it's other people meeting our needs, whatever it is, whatever that is, and if we're putting our faith and trust in any of those things, man, those are shaky. Those are sandcastles. Man, that's putting our faith and trust in something that can blow away in the midst of a second, and one wave can come and take them all away. But that one thing that Paul holds on to, it's faith in Jesus Christ. And I don't know why that's so hard for me. Why is that so hard for that to be the one thing? Because I want to put my faith and trust in so much other stuff. But Paul continually says, man, all that other stuff, man, it fails. It's just not there. But my faith and hope in Jesus Christ, that is what got me through these times of uncertainty.
Yeah, and even as we're talking about this with you, I recognize, man, this sounds like preacher talk. This sounds like, pie in the sky kind of thinking like, oh, just hold on to your faith. But I don't know a way to come to, like, I wish I could express to you how important it is to have that trust. Now, that trust that causes us to go ahead and take action. And I think that's the key part. I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm still going to go to my job. If the job's not there, I'm going to go look for another one. Right. I'm going to, use the finances God blessed me with. If those finances don't seem to be there, then I'm going to figure out, something else to do. I'm going to rely on these relationships. I'm not going to walk away from them, but I'm not going to just determine my value and my worth based on the success or failure of these relationships. When we're talking about this faith and holding on to our faith, it goes beyond just believing that there is a God. I know I've already said this, but I want to reiterate it. It goes beyond just believing that there is a God. It's now I'm going to move to action because of that.
Step over the edge.
I want to help people who don't have what I have. I want to spend more time praying and reading my Bible because now God has given me the opportunity to do that. I want to do some things because I believe so strongly, not that He's necessarily going to keep me from problems, but that He's going to go through the problems with me. Yeah. And man, again, the hardest part is God is not always revealing to His people what the end result's going to be. You know, I'm here in the middle of it, and I don't know when it's going to end or how it's going to end, but I'm going to keep going the direction that God's calling me to. Yeah. That's what we're called to as well. Whole lot easier said than done. I understand that, but that's what we want to kind of encourage all of you that are listening to this and participate in this with us. Man, hold on to that faith and let that faith move you to do something. Whether that, again, is a renewed or maybe new prayer time, Bible study time, figuring out some way through your social media kind of stuff to encourage other people. Find out what needs the people have. You got multiple packages of toilet paper at your house, go give it to somebody that doesn't have any. You know, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, just find ways to serve other people without putting you or them at risk. Finding ways to do these things. And Paul says the reason that I could come and talk and do the things in Corinth that I did was because of my faith in Jesus. My faith moved me to action, and that's what we want for you guys as well.
Yeah. So what do these next Wednesday nights look like? That's a question mark. Yeah. So we've talked about a lot of different things, and so we kind of want to meet you guys where you're at. And well, I mean, we want to meet each other where we're at and stuff too. Mm-hmm. So we know that within our church family that there's people struggling with fear. There's people struggling with doubts, with anxiety, and trying to figure out what to do with isolation, what to do with these new emotions that we're feeling in a different way. But more than just talk about these emotions that we deal with, we also want to provide some form of a way for us to be able to conquer those things. Man, how do I actually pray through these things? How do I get down in the depths of what I'm really feeling and bring those things into God's throne room, to bring those things in front of Him and say, God, just like David does in the Psalms, like, how long, O Lord, are you going to forget us forever? Psalm 13, I mean, like that's how long is this going to happen? Yeah. So how are we going to pray through those things? How are we going to let the Bible speak to us in the middle of these things, open it up and let it speak to us in a new way, in a way that encourages us? In the middle of all of that too, we want to hear from you guys. Mm-hmm. We want you guys to comment or to send us an email or a text or a call and tell us what you think that you want us to talk about. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Marshall and I don't have the answers to a lot of things. Woefully unprepared to answer.
We can find them.
We can have a response to some. But if there's something on your heart, something on your family's mind about something about God, something about a particular book of the Bible, or the way that the Bible is formed, or what's happening in our world, or something your coworker has been asking. Coworker, does that mean your kids, your husband?
I guess it does at your house.
Coworkers have been asking you about your faith, and we want to talk about those things. And then in the same breath too, I know we're talking about a lot, but we want to be able to talk about what Marshall and expand upon what Marshall's talking about on Sundays as well. Mm-hmm. So last Sunday we talked about communion. I don't know about, I'm sure he and I both could talk about communion for a long time, and I don't want to spoil what's happening next week, but we could talk. We could talk for weeks, and we will on Sundays about what we're talking about next Sunday. So we can expand on that just a little bit too. Yeah,
but we want it to be, this to be a practical tool. So anything that you may be struggling with or just questions you have, I mean, it could be, honesty, anger. Yeah. I don't know, how to find joy, be more patient, all those different kind of things. Whatever it is, like Brandon said, comment, hey, I'd like to hear about this, or even stuff that we talked about today, like, help me understand a little bit more about this faith thing that you're talking about. You got different Bible characters. I've heard of this guy or this woman. I don't know who that is. Yeah. We'll talk about that. We want to hear from you guys. So we want to make this as interactive and meeting where you guys are as much as possible. So you can, like you said, you can text us, you can email us, and let us know what's on your heart that you want to hear about as well.
We don't want it to be the Marshall and Brandon talk show.
Yes, no.
Nobody
wants
I
that.
was saying,
Nobody
it would
wants
just
that.
be us telling dumb Bible jokes.
That's
together.
right.
We want this to be a time where we can grow together, a time where we can experience all of this all together. So we definitely want to make sure that this time is meaningful, something that is actually something that is impactful to y'all, whether that's just us being honest with each other and us being honest with y'all about where we're at in the middle of all of that. So we love you guys, and we ache to be with y'all physically, for us to meet back in this space and to be all together and love on each other. But we're going to try and do the best that we can here through these avenues. And, although Marshall and I don't have, we didn't ever have a class on global pandemics in ministry or shifting from face-to-face contact ministry to fully online contact ministry.
Yeah, online worship.
Yeah, definitely.
The internet wasn't invented. Well, I guess it was invented while I was in college, so I had no classes on
Yeah,
that.
I was born with Instagram in my hand, ready to go, locked and loaded. So we're, but we want to be here with y'all. So however we can help and however we can be beneficial to the family, that's what we want. We don't want this to be a Marshall and Brandon banter. We want it to be something that is cool and that you guys enjoy and are benefit from as well.
Yep.
So I guess with all that being said, thank you guys for tuning in with us.
If you stay
today.
listening this long, watching this long, thank you.
Yeah,
we'll do it again next Wednesday.
We've now been talking for an hour because it's taken us so long.
Last time, that's right.
But thank you guys. Definitely tune in on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. with Flagstone online, our live Facebook premiere watch party. Let your friends know that we do that. We have really, really appreciated the good feedback that we've gotten from y'all. And it's a great time for us to be able to worship together. And we have really enjoyed that in a way that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
And have gotten fulfillment in that because we can meet in that way. So definitely meet us there, and then we'll be here again on Wednesday at 7 o'clock.
Yep.
Ready for y'all, and we're gonna say hey and love on you too. So,
Yep.
yeah,
Love
you
you,
guys,
church family.
Thank y'all.
See you
Appreciate it.
Sunday.